Good evening. Who wasn't here this afternoon? Oh. Are you sorry? Well, there's only one way we can correct that. And I've asked that the tape that was made today, which has on the other side of it the one made Sunday morning, be included in the Portland closed class, so that today's tape will become a part of this closed class. So when you hear this class again, those of you who weren't here will hear what took place today that was of such importance that it had to be included in this class. Had I known that it was going to come out today, I would have told you in advance, but my father told me only 5 minutes before I came out on the platform, and there it is, on tape. You see, the significance of this work is that it is not a healing through blind faith in some unknown God, nor is it the application of psychology to human problems. The function of our work really is prayer. That is our main function, prayer. And it is by means of prayer that harmony is brought into our experience and kept into our experience. It is not a process of self-correction. It is not a process of trying to change one's thoughts from evil or negative thoughts to good thoughts, nor to change our bad conduct into good conduct. The idea on which the Infinite Way work is founded is that in the beginning there existed a spiritual universe that was God created, and that this spiritual universe was our whole universe, and in it was nothing that defileth or maketh a lie. In this universe of God's creating, there was neither sin, disease, death, or lack. Now in the scripture, this is called the Garden of Eden, or it is called the first chapter of Genesis. Tonight, when you go home, or if the excitement of election is too much tonight, do it tomorrow, read both the first and second chapters of Genesis. And note this, that in the beginning there was only God, and that God created this image, created this universe in his own image and likeness, evidently of his own being, of his own substance, giving unto it the law of his own being, spiritual law, spiritual life. And you notice a very wonderful thing about this universe. Nobody earned their living by the sweat of the brow, because the crops were in the field before the seeds were planted. And there was light even before there was sunshine. In other words, it was a spiritual, self-created universe. The only likeness to it that you can imagine is if you were to close your eyes and build a city. Right here, as we sit, build a city. Watch those, well, there it is, all complete. The skyscrapers are there, and the streets are in. Evidently the sewage is all underneath, the lighting, the heating. And as we look out into this scene behind our eyes, we have the full and complete city. Right outside we can even see the country. And all of this created without manufacturing bricks or asphalt or putting in pipes or doing any of these billions of things that men would have to do if they really built the city materially. We built it mentally. Of course, building it mentally, it isn't a real city. It's only a dream city. And when you come to the second chapter of Genesis, you will learn that that's the kind of a world that you are now living in as human beings, a shadow world that has no reality. It was created by the mind, and because the mind isn't really a creator, it can't create anything but shadow images. You can make it look like a city, but you can't go in and try to live in it. You can make it look as if it had electric lights, but you can't really get illumination from it. And that is the world that as human beings we are living in. It's a mentally created universe which is as unreal as that city you just built in your mind. And that is why we can destroy this world that we're living in any moment that we wish. That is, when the wish is deep enough and sincere enough. Idle wishing won't do it, but a wish that goes as deep as that of Christ Jesus will, for he overcame this world. And we can do the same, because this world that we're living in is not a real world. It is the second chapter of Genesis, that which was created by mind. And mind isn't power. Mind can't build a city. Mind can't build anything except shadows, dream images, counterfeits. It is the spirit which we call God that is the creative principle of this world. And when you destroy this world in which you're living, when you overcome it, you will not have destroyed a single thing except some false images. You will be here, and your body will be here, and your world will be here, but it'll all be harmonious. And it'll all be subject to spiritual law, not material law or mental law or legal law. There will be only one law in your universe. You will be able to say to anyone and to everyone, as the Master said to Pilate, "Thou couldst have no power over me unless it came from the Father within." You will acknowledge no law but spiritual law. Of course, by that time you won't be violating any other kind of law. Now, in this first chapter of Genesis, you do not have to do anything except live. We might say live and love, because into that Garden of Eden there came male and female, Adam and Eve. And as long as we remained in the Garden of Eden, there was only life, abundance, purity, harmony, evidently love, and that was the nature of the life we will live when we go back into the Garden of Eden. Now, we were thrown out of the Garden of Eden And at this moment you have a very erroneous impression as to why we were thrown out. There is no authority at all for believing that sex had anything to do with our being thrown out. What it actually says is that we were thrown out because we ate of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. That's why we were thrown out, because we began to name some things good and some things evil. We were thrown out, and we will remain out until we overcome the world, and we will only overcome the world when we begin to look out and realize that there is neither good nor evil. There is neither good nor evil, only thinking makes it so. Only thinking makes it so. Nothing is good or evil. Nothing is good or evil in and of itself. Nothing has the properties of good and evil except through universal belief we make it so. The very flowers that make us happy give illnesses to others. The food that makes one well makes another sick. The food that makes one stout makes another lean. The weather in which one thrives, another dies in. There is nothing that has within itself the properties of good or evil. But our making it so makes it so. Now the question is asked of Adam. Yes, Adam at that eventful moment when God is to speak to him discovers that he is naked. And God asks, who told you you were naked? Where did that come from? And all you have to do is go back and remember that the children run around naked and nobody pays any attention to it. Animals run around naked, no one pays any attention to it. Who says that it's evil to be naked? Well, you know who says so. Custom, society, inhibitions, all of this belief that some things are good and some are evil, when all of this time everything that exists in this world is a God-created existence, some of which we like and some of which we don't, some of which we approve and some of which we do not. I don't have to call your attention on that point to the fact that in the South Seas and in the South Pacific, where originally people, because of climatic conditions, did not have to wear clothes, that they didn't wear clothes, and they got along perfectly well, and they knew no diseases until the white man came and brought those diseases with them, with their knowledge of what is good and what is evil. And then, of course, in our Hawaiian Islands, the missionaries came and made the dear ladies wear Mother Hubbards. You know, it'd be a strange thing if all of you could witness what that means, knowing the Hawaiians for the natures that they have. But I think the funniest part of that whole business was, some years ago, when these Hawaiians, even though they wore the Mother Hubbards, in order to get around comfortably, they had to slit their skirts up to the knees so as to give themselves leg room to move around. And the descendants of the same missionaries insisted that they have to sew up those slits because no part of their limb must show. And you know that it was in the very next year when the split skirts came in for the white ladies, and they decided to show little bits of their limbs. You see how ridiculous it all is? Just as we could go back to my childhood days and the childhood days of some of you and remember the bathing costumes of those days and remember those of today, and you would see exactly what I mean, that evil is in the eye of the beholder. Evil is the way we see it, not the fact that it of itself exists. Now, the miracle that has taken place in our work since this revelation was given to me, that there is no such thing as evil, but neither is there any such thing as good. There is only the original Garden of Eden in which all is God being. And our mistake, the mistake of all metaphysical teachings, has been that we have tried to change evil into good. And there isn't any good to change it into. There isn't anyone to say what constitutes good. There isn't anyone to say how long it will be good after you decide that it is good. No. As I see it, it is as if these rooms were empty. I mean empty of you and me. And we stood out there in the hall and looked in. And then I could say to you, do you see any evil powers in there, or do you see any good powers? Do you see any evil presences or good presences? And your answer would be no. I see nothing in there but empty rooms, that is, empty of any living beings. There's neither good nor evil in those rooms. No, there's neither good nor evil in those rooms. But now let us go into these rooms. And now what do we find here? Well, you know, we find both good and evil, because we are here with our mixed good and evil thoughts. So whatever good and evil is in this room, you and I have brought here. Whatever propensities there are in this room for good, for benevolence, philanthropy, charity, forgiveness, cooperativeness, sharing, whatever such spirit there is in this room is only here because we are here. And on the other hand, if there is any evil in this room, or any propensities or possibilities of evil, you and I brought them here too. There was nothing good or evil in this Eden until we came in with our beliefs of good and evil. If we had sent a lot of 2 or 3-year-old children in the room, there would have been neither good nor evil. There would have just been children playing. So it is in our Garden of Eden, when we rise to the point where we begin to perceive that in this universe there are no qualities of good and evil except such as we, by common consent, decree to be so. Then you will find this miracle. And the only way that you can prove this is through healing work. When you are called upon for help, as you know, since we are not physical or mental healers, but spiritual, shall we say, seers, prophets, our function is to retire within ourselves, attain that inner peace, and watch the discord dissolve. Now, the discord wouldn't dissolve if it were real. The discord wouldn't disappear if it were entity or identity. You couldn't just sit in contemplation of God and see cancer or consumption or deafness or blindness. You couldn't see those disappear if they were real. You just couldn't do that. The only reason that your conscious oneness with God causes the discords and inharmonies to disappear out of your life is that this inner impulsion or contact with God dissolves that mind-made picture of error, and it exists no more. It is like having a figure, 2 times 2 equals 5. And I don't care how many times you write it, it still isn't a reality. And as soon as someone comes along with the truth about 2 times 2, 5 disappears and 4 appears. Now how did anyone make 5 disappear? By virtue of the fact that 5 never was there. Never was a 5 there. There was an image, but such a false one that truth coming along wiped it out. As truth comes into your awareness, every 2 times 2 is 5 will disappear. Whether it's a mental, physical, moral, or financial, 2 times 2 is 5, it will disappear when the light of truth touches your consciousness, because there is no reality to 2 times 2 is 5. There is no reality to sin, disease, death, lack, or limitation. These have been foisted upon us by that original sin. And I repeat, I do not mean sex. The original sin of accepting good and evil. That's the original sin. Now we have proven these last months, since we are at work in this, that it is only necessary to sit in the presence of any form of discord, in the realization that this is not evil, but neither is it good. There is no evil and there is no good. There is only God, Spirit in expression. And by not trying to change evil to good, by not trying to do anything to a person or a condition, except realizing the truth. Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free. And what is the truth? The truth that was the truth before the fall of Adam and Eve, the truth that there is neither good nor evil, there is only God, God being. And then you watch how these pictures of sense, these mind-made images, disappear. In the days when it was believed that matter was the only force and the only power, people had to work with that state of ignorance. But lo and behold, there came a day when someone discovered that mind is a greater power than matter, and that mind can control matter. And up to a certain point, that's true. If you have a powerful enough thinking apparatus, you really can change conditions of matter. There isn't any doubt about it that they are proving in Duke University that if you can just think strongly enough, you can make those dice come up 7 and 11 as many times as you want. Not that it proves anything about God if you were to do it every time. Certainly, there are teachings which show that you can sit before a candle and you can will the flame to come in your direction, or will it to go away from you, or to bend to the left or the right. You can do it, but after you've done it, what have you proven? Now where is God? If anything, you've nearly proven that you don't need God. You can do it all alone. But you see, it isn't really true, because after you've made the flame go this way and that way, you've done nothing. And after you've made the dice come up 7 or 11, all you do is get thrown out of every gambling house in the country. So you won't be able to use it. No, but when you can do what the Master did, say, I can of my own self do nothing. I can't make a white hair black. I can't add 1 cubit to my stature. And if I can't do the least of these things, there is no use my trying to do the greatest. So I will sit still. I will acknowledge that there is a kingdom of God within me. And I'll acknowledge that through prayer, through inner communion, this presence of God, this Christ, the Spirit of God, can come out into expression and dissolve all of these pictures. I can't, you can't. It can, if I can be still enough to let the still small voice move out into this world. Then you will see that not only the discordant pictures of life disappear, but some of the very ones that we have considered to be harmonious and good. Because once the Spirit touches us, the things that were humanly good to us before and seemed really to be the only object of living, they no longer become of any interest. It's a strange thing then that all of these 30-hour work weeks become very boring with too many hours left over in which to do nothing. And many of the amusements that have been made for mankind become very annoying and very disturbing once the Spirit has touched one and you begin to behold the realities of life and the joys that are of the Spirit. There are joys of the Spirit, but the human can't know them, because the human is accustomed only to those joys that are man-made and that have to do with externals, whereas the joys of the Spirit are inner and inward, and they find their expression in communion. Communion with each other, communion with nature, communion with art, communion with literature, communion with music, communion with the highest and finest ideals and their expressions. In the Garden of Eden, of course, there was no discord. And in this room, there was no discord. Until we, with our ideas of good and evil, came along. Now you watch what happens in a room filled with people who have been touched by the Spirit of God, and see if you find evil there. See if you find mad ambition. See if you find lust and greed and hate and enmity. See if you find even the desire to be fraudulent, dishonest. See if there is any reason to lie, cheat, steal, defraud. And you find none. Why will you find none? Because you will have discovered that the Spirit of God is your sufficiency in all things. And you no longer have to resort to any human mode or means of attaining them. They are all self-supplied within your own being. That is why the Spirit of God leads one, produces in one, spiritual living. Spiritual living and spiritual loving. Spiritual loving has nothing to do with getting something from someone. It has to do with giving. Loving never has to do with getting love. It has to do with giving love. The Spirit of God never seeks for anything for itself, but the Spirit of God ever pours itself through an individual to the universe. Now, this we have seen sometimes in small groups and sometimes in larger ones, that where there was no self-seeking, there was no evil of any nature. Not of any nature. No envy, no jealousy. As long as there was no self-seeking. As long as there is self-seeking, there is division. As long as there's division, there are the errors and the discords of life. Just think what it would mean to have an inner conviction such as, thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Think what it would mean to have such a conviction that never again would there be any need to look to a human being for anything. Always to have the awareness that whatever the need is, the fulfillment comes from within. It may come through others, but not from them. There would be no dependency upon them. There would be no designating who it should come from or who it should come through, because of this inner realization, thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. Then it would make no difference whether it were place or position, whether it were money or name or fame. There would be a relaxing in that understanding that only the inner grace could satisfactorily and satisfyingly supply it. So it is. You, for a brief moment in meditation, sit back, close your eyes, and begin to realize this, that out there, external to me, there is nothing good and nothing evil. There is only the presence of God, the universe of God's creating, the Spirit of God indwelling. This is a spiritual universe peopled with children of God. Now out there, we can see some people whom we consider evil. Don't be afraid to look at them. Don't be afraid to see them right in front of you. Whoever it is, wherever it may be or they may be, that you consider evil, and stop to think if everybody on earth thinks them so. If there aren't just as many people or more who may consider them perfectly wonderful people, and then see whether or not they are evil or whether you have accepted an evil concept of them. Remember that if they were evil in and of themselves, that is the way the world would see them. Try to look at the roses, of which this city has such an abundance, and try to realize now that there are no good roses, just as there are no evil roses. There are just roses. If you like them, have them by the millions if you want. They have beauty, they have grace, perfume, form, and we like them. That doesn't say they're good, it just says they're enjoyable. So let's have them. But here comes the next person who says, no, 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 those flowers give me rose fever. How can that be? Now let us reverse this and see these roses as neither good nor evil, but just roses. Just see them as partaking of the nature of God. Neither good nor evil, but beautiful, colorful, harmonious, enjoyable. Let's turn from roses or any other form of flowers and let's see our animals. Is there such a thing as a good dog or a good cat? No. There are dogs and there are cats. If they have any qualities of good, we imbue them with those qualities. there are other people that cannot find that good in them. So let us now withdraw our concepts and agree there is neither good nor evil in dogs and cats. There's just dogs and cats. They may be beautiful, and they may be friendly, and they may be protective, and they may be desirable. We may love to have them around, but that's it. We are not going to call them good. We are not going to call them evil. We are going to call them only creatures of God. You would be surprised when you begin to take this attitude toward cats and dogs to find that every cat and dog in the world will be looking for you and wanting to be petted by you. Why? Because you are no longer expressing an opinion about dogs and cats. You are expressing the truth. They are dogs and cats of God's creating. And that's what they are, and that's what they want to be. And they want to be no more than that and no less than that, but they want to be understood for that. This is a dog, and this is a cat, and this is the creature that God hath made. And the only qualities present are not good qualities or bad qualities, God qualities. And then let us turn to these humans, those we like and those we dislike, those we trust and those we distrust, and let us, you and I, withdraw from them all our previous concepts. And let us say, you are neither good nor bad. You are the man of God's creating, or the woman of God's creating. You are neither good nor bad. Whatever qualities you have are God qualities. I will not vest you with any qualities. I will not pin my concepts onto you. I will see you as you are. Adam and Eve of God's creating. Pure, undefiled. In God's grace. Watch the miracle of human relationships when you begin to withdraw your concepts of the men and women in your life and begin to agree that they are not good and that they are not bad, but that they are children of God and that the qualities of God constitute their true being. In the same way, when you are called upon for help, do not call a disease evil, but don't go to the other extreme and call it something good. Because certainly it isn't good, but I can tell you that it also isn't evil. There is neither good nor evil, but thinking makes it so. So don't think it. Agree not to think good and evil. Agree to withhold your concepts and say this is neither good nor evil, but whatever is of God. Look out upon this world, animate and inanimate. Yes, let's take money. Don't be afraid to look money right in the face. Don't be afraid to handle it in your hands and look at it and declare that it isn't good. And declare that it isn't evil. That it's just money. An object of exchange without any qualities inherent in it at all. Money is neither good nor bad. Whatever power it has, man gives it. So therefore, withdraw power from money And don't call it good, and don't call it evil, but call it money. And as you do, you will find that it too likes to be called by its own name. And its name isn't good, and its name isn't evil, its name is money. And as you understand that, and that it has neither qualities of good nor of evil, it can't bless and it can't curse, it's just a medium of exchange, you will find that whatever money is necessary to be a part of your experience will appear there. But by loving it, hating it, or fearing it, you chase it away from you. And if you attract it to you, it makes you a miser afraid to spend it. It is only in not loving it, not hating it, not fearing it, that money can take its rightful place in your life as a medium of exchange. Do not call anything good, do not call anything bad, but realize this, that in the Garden of Eden all that exists is that which God created. God called it good. You will not call it good or evil, you will call it God's creation. Now, you watch in your individual experience what happens to you, even in the next 24 hours, once you begin to drop all the labels of good and evil. Watch these evil things in your life that you've been trying to get rid of, and the harder you tried, the harder they clung to you. Just watch what happens to them when you stop trying to get rid of them and say, stick around if you like. I know you're not good, but I'm sure you're not evil. Watch then the alchemy that takes place. I have called the secret of the first and second chapter of Genesis and the Garden of Eden, I've called this the secret of alchemy, because it does turn nothingness into something worthwhile. It does translate everything into that which is desirable and right. It changes the dross of human living into the gold of spiritual living. It changes the dross of materiality into the pure gold of spirituality. Just by one little quirk, just one little bit of knowledge, having no knowledge of good or of evil. You know, it's a secret I searched for over 25 years in meditation and in the writings of the world, only to have it revealed to me in a sudden flash that the whole error that comes into our lives comes because of the things that we call good and the things that we call bad. And sometimes the very, very good things are our own undoing. Sometimes the very bad things become the greatest blessings. Who are we to judge? Yes, that's what the Master said. Who made me a judge over you? Who says what is right and what is wrong? So you see that when, as you will see in this tape that was made today, when you begin to perceive that you are not dealing with sin, disease, death, unemployment, lack or limitation, that you are dealing with a state of mesmerism, you will see why you can heal. Because now you know what created the state of mesmerism. We did, by our acceptance of good and evil. That's what formed mortal mind. Perhaps you've wondered, where did mortal mind come from? What is mortal mind? What does it consist of? The belief of good and evil. That's all there is to mortal mind. The moment you withdraw your concepts of good or evil, you're living in a world without any mortal mind. There are no temptations anymore. The flesh can't tempt you. Dollars can't tempt you. You're just above all temptation. Fear can't tempt you because there's no good or evil. Just no good or evil, and you're open now and free to enjoy the normal, natural, rightful living that God constituted on earth as it is in heaven. You see, God constituted his spiritual universe on earth as it is in heaven, but not while there are concepts of good and evil, because that throws us out of the Garden of Eden where everything is harmony. I will say this to you, that this truth acts like a series of atom bombs. It will bomb you right and left and up and down for quite a while, because you will find that all you are living at the present time is made up of is concepts of good and evil. And as you try one by one to overcome them and loose them, to let them go, you're dynamiting yourself out of your most beloved concepts. Oh yes, you'll find that you're tearing not only your mind but your body right in half. You don't have to tell me about it, because I've been through it. I don't know that I'm over it yet completely, because it's a terrifically dynamiting thing when you start to give up good and evil. Remember this, that this secret hasn't been discovered in 4,000 years. And if you try to put something into practice that hasn't even been known or dreamed of by the human mind, just think what you're doing to the human mind. You're wrecking its whole process of education. You're wrecking everything on which your education was based. Why, you're even wrecking everything on which your morals were based. Your whole concepts of right and wrong are now going to be torn to pieces. Your whole concepts of body are going to be torn to pieces when you realize there's no right part of the body and no wrong part of the body. It's all God's creation. Oh yes, you'll find a lot of dynamiting taking place as you begin this practice. When the light first came to me on this, I was frightened, badly frightened, because before I knew it, it had slipped out of my mouth and I didn't intend it to. And then I wondered what would happen, but fortunately at that time it wasn't caught, it wasn't recognized, it wasn't realized. But gradually since then I have been introducing this subject until here it is, right in your lap. And the question is, what will you do with it? The secret of life, that which transforms us from humans into children of God, is our ability to give up our concepts of good and evil. Stop eating of the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Have no more good or evil, and recognize that nothing that you behold as good or evil, all that there is God. And then watch miracles come into your experience, but also watch the dynamiting that takes place and be prepared for it. Let us stop there for a moment. Now this brings us to this subject. There is neither good nor evil. That is our basic truth. There is neither good nor evil. All there is God and God being. But stating that in and of itself does not bring the change always that we expect. So there must be this further step of inner communion which results in the spirit being released. Now watch this. you've all had experience trying to meditate, and I'm sure that most of you have found it difficult and probably still have some difficulties with it. Now watch the difference as you sit back to meditate, and first think of anything you like. And with your eyes closed, look at it and begin to realize this is neither good nor evil. Neither good nor evil, just man or dog or cat or woman. This is neither good nor evil. And watch how quickly your thought settles right down into peace. Because I discovered something. Nobody can think unless they're thinking about something good or evil. There isn't anything you could think about unless you give it the title of good or evil. You can only be at peace. You can contemplate, let us say, some beautiful flowers. Now they're not good or evil, but they're surely beautiful. And you're already at peace. Look at a person or look at a home. Look at an animal and agree. Neither good nor evil here. Just the grace of God, the peace of God. And see how quickly you settle right down into meditation. It is almost accomplished in the twinkling of an eye, as long as you have nothing good or evil to think about. Nothing that you hate or fear or love. Just something that you contemplate without emotion. And you see, it's the good or evil that arouses the emotion. When it is neither good nor evil, there's no emotion. There's only what we might call pure joy, spiritual joy. See if you don't settle back quickly. See that? And you watch now as you learn to meditate that way, looking at anything or anybody you like, but withdrawing your concepts of good or evil, settle into that peace, and it'll only take a few minutes until the peace that passeth understanding begins to touch you, and you feel that presence within you. Sometimes even hear the word itself, or hear a message of release, of assurance, of freedom. And in between comes that passage, thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. And see how your thought is taking away from all persons and conditions. You're completely released in the knowledge that you have no need of person or conditions. You have no fear of person or conditions. And that too settles you into your peace. Thy grace is my sufficiency in all things. And immediately the physical or material bondage that you are in to person or circumstance or condition just evaporates. Thy grace. Free of all human ties. And so it is that all of the discords of this life having to earn one's living by the sweat of the brow, bringing forth children in pain and labor. All of this came with knowing good and evil. All of this ends when we no longer know good or evil, and puts us right back there in the Garden of Eden. God maintained, God sustained, God equipped, the wisdom of God, the life of God, the love of God, the flow of God, and nothing else but that. And, well, let's know more about it tomorrow night.